Here we go again. My non-Indian friends know that I study Indian democracy, and so often when they receive an article from their side of the political spectrum that seems critical of India, they tend to send them to me. And here's one on the death of Bengali liberalism in the wake of the BJP's victory in the West Bengal elections. Now, the first thing I noticed about this article is it's written by someone named Sumantra Maitra. That is obviously a Bengali name. I looked him up. He is very well connected in the Anglo-American foreign policy establishment. I don't know his actual nationality. He appears to be American, that he's connected with a lot of American institutes and very well connected in Republican Party circles, particularly in anti-Trump establishment Republican Party circles. If you read some of his other work here and other places, you'll see he definitely seems to be a never-Trumper, but doesn't mean he's an American citizen. I don't know what his citizenship is. But I do know that he is a fan of British imperialism. Now, there's nothing wrong with that. Some Indians may feel there's something wrong with that, but the friend who sent me this article is very much an Anglophile fan of British imperialism, which is why he sent me the article. Here's an Indian who also is a fan of British imperialism, and see this person as anti-Modi. Well, we now have a reactionary political imagination in Bengal. I'm not sure if we can yet accuse Suvendra Adhikari of having a reactionary political imagination. We'll have to see what he does in West Bengal. I myself have given friendly advice to the BJP that it would be wise for them to govern in a liberal manner, but we don't know how they will govern West Bengal. That, of course, is Raja Mohan Roy, and he's going to appear prominently in this article. Now, the article starts with a vignette of the symbolism of right-wing Hindu nationalist victory in West Bengal, that residents of a Kolkata suburb changed the name of a local park. Now, let's take a look at that. So here we have the evidence of them changing the name of a local park. Now, looking at this, there doesn't seem to be anything untoward there. I don't read Bengali or Hindi, but it appears that they are putting up a banner. So we might contrast that with, say, something that liberals really applaud when the residents of Bristol tore down a statue and rolled it into the ocean just because they didn't like the historical connotations of the statue. And it's like, well, but the people have spoken. It's the people rising up. Well, hanging a banner seems to be much more measured and liberal than tearing down statues. But let's leave that aside for a minute. This is a statue of, now I didn't know what Siraj Udayan meant, but when I saw his explanation, the garden of Siraj ud Dawla, that, of course, raised a red flag for me. Because who is Siraj ud Dawla? He is the Mughal ruler who threw 150 British people into the Black Hole of Calcutta. Now, Indian listeners may not be upset that a Mughal threw 150 Britishers, as you call them, into the Black Hole of Calcutta, but my conservative British Empire-friendly friend certainly would not be happy with ud Dawla. In fact, if a bunch of BJP activists were going to change the name of that park in Calcutta, they'd probably be right there. Let's tear Siraj's name off this park. After all, he's a war criminal against the British Empire. So it's strange to see this as this is the prime example of illiberalism in the new Bengal, is renaming a park, taking away the name of the Mughal ruler of the Black Hole of Calcutta and replacing him with Shivaji. Now, Shivaji, I understand, is a controversial figure in Bengal, of course a hero in Maharashtra and a hero to many Hindus throughout India. But I understand he did invade Bengal, and invasions are violent, and I understand that he may not be popular in Bengal, at least certainly not among all people. Now, casting Siraj as a Bengali nationalist who spoke the then rudimentary Bengali language. Well, wait a minute. You're the Bengali. You're calling the Bengali language rudimentary. Again, I'm not a linguist. I don't know, maybe it was rudimentary, but most languages are fully developed. Whether or not it was well represented in writing, I don't know. But calling it a rudimentary language is not exactly expressing your Bengali pride. Did his family defend Bengal against Maratha raids and the British, or did his family defend itself and its place in power? Those are two very different interpretations. Now, again, I understand that the Maratha kingdom empire can be seen in a negative light in Bengal. I don't take any position on that. I find it funny that this author takes a position on that. Now, the BBC is treating Narendra Modi as another conqueror of Bengal. And, conqueror, I guess so. Modi's BJP conquers Bengal. I don't think that this really meant conquest in the, Marathi soldiers' sense of conquest. I think that's just being used in its normal English language usage. It's a bit odd to consider it that way. But I haven't read the article. Let's take a look. Does the article actually compare Narendra Modi to, I don't even know who this is. I'm not really an expert on Bengali history. I know Akbar the Great. I know Robert Clive. Let's take a look at this article from the BJP. Is it talking about all these conquerors? It does say conquer. That made the election. Yeah, I don't see a lot of mentions of medieval emperors or early modern conquerors conquering Bengal. None of that seems to be in this article. We're here browsing it very quickly, so if I'm wrong, put it in the comments. But no, I don't see a lot about the BBC talking about Narendra Modi being among these brutal conquerors. Now, has the BJP used the language of a second Bengali Renaissance? Yes, in fact, I use the language myself. It is an obvious metaphor to use. But it's strange to talk about the first one being the 1820s liberalism under Ram Mohan Roy. I thought the Bengali Renaissance lasted until the early 20th century. In fact, I would have thought that one of the last figures of the Bengal Renaissance might have been S.P. Mukherjee, who was the chancellor of the University of Calcutta and, not coincidentally, founder of the Jana Sangh, the predecessor party to the BJP. Now, a true Renaissance requires a cosmopolitan mind and an elite-led liberal tradition. So, wait a minute, liberalism implies elitism? I'm not really sure there. It's a tragedy that no one's writing about the Bajralok. Now, wait a minute. If this author, who has a Brahmin name, had explained what Bajralok meant, I mean, he's portraying it as that Bajralok means liberal elite, but I understand Bajralok to be a term referring to a group of exploitative ruling castes who, for centuries, in cooperation with foreign invaders, repressed and exploited the poor farmers of Bengal. Now, I don't cast aspersions. I have nothing against anybody's caste identity, and I have nothing against people who are of Bajralok castes. But to portray to Westerners that this is a term representing a liberal philosophical elite, instead of portraying to Westerners that the term is often considered one of repression, I mean, let's actually ask Google. Sorry about my autocompletes. What is a Bajralok? Respectable people, the educated, cultured, and influential middle classes of Bengal emerging during the British Raj. All right, well, Google has a pretty positive view. Dominated by three upper castes, education, refinement, etc. Oh, well, Google has them as positive. So there you go, the gentle folk of the British Raj. Other people, I think, have a different view, but of course, when you're the literate class, you write the histories. There are no think tanks in Washington or London dedicating to study the effects of a BJP win in Bengal and Assam. Yeah, that is a problem. I've talked about it. I've tried to start a think tank in Sydney to talk about Indian politics, and the Indian Century Roundtable, we're doing our best, but it is hard to get anyone in the West interested. There should be a lot more interest, but there should be a lot more objective interest in studying India, not in glorifying one side in India. Now, there are nothing on Bengali history. That's ridiculous. There's lots of work on Bengali history. Less on Bengali liberalism, because it's not clear that it is liberal. I mean, the hero of this story of Bengali liberalism, if I can skip ahead a bit, 7th century, there's no liberalism in the 7th century or the 13th century. But if we move ahead, let's see, if we go to history, there's no liberalism in Bengal before the 18th century. There's no liberalism in England before the 18th century. Now, here we come to the idea that the native Bengali elites are not intellectually inferior, resulted from the works of Thomas Babington Macaulay. That's one interpretation. If this author is calling for a return to British Bengal, well, good luck. I don't think any political party in India is going to go to the polls saying, we want to bring back Macaulay. Macaulayism was what made Bengal great. Now he goes on to, we all love our favorite archetypes from history. Hindu college is, one of those things that's looked back on as a, foundational moment in education in Bengal. But more importantly, Ram Mohan Roy, which is, here we go, we're going to get there. There we go, about to Ram Mohan Roy, advocating for women's education, widow remarriage, etc., etc. Now, they are were frequently condemned as agents of westernization, heavily influenced by Christian Unitarianism. Ram Mohan Roy, was a Brahmo Samajist. Now the Brahmo Samaj, again, I have nothing against Brahmo Samajism. I view all religions as equal. I have no affinity or disaffinity for any of them. But to portray Brahmo Samajism as somehow, a positive for India because it was, to blame it, to credit Ram Mohan Roy and Brahmo Samajism as unproblematically a positive for India is, of course, to ignore the hundreds of millions of Indians who feel differently. Of course, they were condemned as agents of westernization. Ram Mohan Roy, again, nothing against him. He's a great figure in Indian history. But he was the Mughal ambassador to the United Kingdom who spent much of his later life in the UK, died in the UK, is interred in a tomb in the UK, in Bristol, as it happens, and who none other than Mahatma Gandhi condemned as an agent of westernization. That is, whereas Ram Mohan Roy was advocating for English education in India, there's actually a couple of articles written by none other than Mahatma Gandhi criticizing Ram Mohan Roy for wanting to Britishize India and not embracing India's own heritage. And here we have, again, it's almost like this author wants to sabotage himself. Ram Mohan Roy argued that a Sanskrit system of education would be best calculated to keep this country in darkness. But, not only would Hindu nationalists think Sanskrit education would be great, Western educational scholars would think Sanskrit, or today we might say Hindi medium education, is a preferred method of education. Western scholars are very much in favor of native medium education as opposed to English medium education for many reasons. Not only does it improve educational outcomes, it also democratizes education. It reduces the enormous advantage that children from privileged households have. It is a liberal, dare I say, reform to have native language, native medium education. Now, again, I have nothing against Ram Mohan Roy. He had his viewpoint, and he is highly respected. But, BJP supporters defaced his painting. I mean, that sounds pretty bad. Is that what happened? I mean, I'll just go to the Instagram reel, and, well, they're putting a tilak on each of these paintings. Now, most of these are of Hindus. I'm not even sure they knew what they were doing when they put that. There we go. I'm not even sure they knew what they were doing. I don't know what's going on here. But this is certainly not a tear down the statues style of defacement. It would be disrespectful to put a tilak on a painting potentially against the wishes of the person who was there. But, given that they were also putting a tilak on Hindu figures, I'm not sure it was intended as a desecration. I'm not sure. I don't know what happened in that incident. At least this author does acknowledge that there is no single national party in India with a broad cosmopolitan reach and a cogent plan. That is, even this author is admitting that the Congress Party does not have a cosmopolitan reach and a cogent plan, probably the latter. That said, this should be an indication. I mean, is there a national party in the United States that has a cosmopolitan reach and a cogent plan? I mean, is there a national party in any country that is cosmopolitan in the terms that this author would like it to be, in the sense of admiring English education over their own country's education and having a plan to do that? Again, I don't see what is I don't see what's being advocated here. But has post-colonialism circled right back to its pre-modern form? I mean, did Narendra Modi conquer West Bengal, send the Indian army in, repress the people, rape and pillage, and, no, none of that happened. And so how did post-colonialism circle right back to its pre-modern form? Even if we accept the premise that the Maratha Empire were foreign conquerors in Bengal who looted the land, there's no suggestion that the BJP has done so. In fact, the BJP's predecessor party was born in West Bengal. It's merely a return home for the BJP to be coming back to West Bengal. Now, he at least doesn't support Mamata Banerjee. That's something in favor. In fact, this author could be considered an Islamophobe. I mean, he's virtually advocating that India should invade Bangladesh. I mean, again, where's the liberalism here? I don't quite understand. He does say there are still individual Bengalis who are liberals who believe in liberty, austerity, a work ethic. But of course, they live in Europe, in the Middle East, and in America. They don't live in India because, of course, the benighted people of West Bengal don't see things the same way as expatriate Indians who don't actually live in West Bengal. So, it's hard to understand what this author wants. I mean, yes, tea and cricket, the Victoria Memorial Hall, the Hamlet final are empty skin suits. Yeah, I would agree. But should they be filled? I mean, should West Bengal today embrace tea and cricket, Queen Victoria, and Hamlet? Or should it embrace its own Sanskrit literary heritage? I rather suspect if I were Bengali, I would prefer the second. All right. Thanks for listening. These things are just crazy. But what's really crazy, and the lesson here, is that Western conservatives routinely send me these articles about how Indian democracy is being undermined. Articles written by people of Indian origin who don't actually live in India. Not only that, I'm often sent. I mean, I'm always sent articles written by people who are not conservatives, who are instead, liberals or socialists, who are vehemently against India in all ways. But I just find this very funny of trying the intellectual former Indians abroad trying to fight Indian battles in British and American journals that no Indian is going to read. But you know who might read it? A New York Times writer, a Washington Post writer, a Wall Street Journal writer. They're going to read these articles and form their view of India and form a view that is wildly out of step with developments in India today.